And I'm live. And I want to thank you for joining into this live stream. I'm so happy you're here. Welcome to Pencils and Stories. My name is Henrike and I make and teach comics. And if you want to make your own comics as well, then I invite you to subscribe to this YouTube channel for weekly videos. Today we're going to talk about how to reflect on your creative 2020. Maybe your 2020 was super creative. Maybe it was not as creative. I dare to say that because you're an artist, there's probably some creative stuff that you did, if only in your head. And there's always stuff to reflect upon. And I really like to make that like this big thing. I go sit down with a cup of tea and I just go all in and reflect on all the things and especially make all the plans for 2021. But I really feel like this year I want to take it easy on that because New Year has a tendency to stress me out because it feels like such a hard deadline. You know, you I don't know if you know this, but you start deferring things to the new year because you're like, no, I'm going to wait until the new year's here. Or you feel this really big pressure to finish everything in December. And, you know, I don't want to do that this year. I don't want to make it this big thing. So what I want to do is just take December as a month and just have some, you know, some pondering during the month and seeing where I end up and trying to be as relaxed as possible going into the new year and not making this huge like reflection thing. But these are kind of like questions that I want to give you in this video that you can take with you for the rest of the month and kind of think it over, and maybe some things that happened pop into your mind. You know, maybe you are reminded of something that happened like 5, 6, 7 months ago, and you know, you can take that with you as well and just, you know, have a piece of paper around where you can write all of the stuff down, and then at the end of the month, you know, see kind of the things that keep popping up in your head, and kind of keep pondering. But if you're the kind of person who loves to sit down with a cup of tea and who loves to, you know, go all in and you have like the time and the energy for it, then absolutely go for it. And you can definitely take these questions that I'm going to pose to reflect on your creative life. Obviously, these are questions that you can ask yourself for everything, like sports or, you know, goals you set for this year. You know, it applies to a lot of stuff, but I specifically want to talk about the creative side because this is a creative channel. So yeah, 2020, what a year. I don't know how you started this year. I do remember like I went full on. It was one of my big goals for this year to went full on in this year for full on into YouTube. And I specifically remember my first video of the year is like, it's 2020. And then there was this comment, I specifically remember there was this comment on that video. It was like, welcome to 2020 and welcome to the coronavirus. And back then it was like January, you know, it was the start of January. I just came out of Paris, you know, I just came out of, you know, travel and everything. And I was like, coronavirus, obviously I heard about it and I was like, well, that's a gloomy comment. And then a few months later, it was like complete lockdown and everything went completely off the rails. But, you know, this year, at least for me, I don't know how it is for you, just wasn't what I expected at all. I ended up somewhere completely different than what I thought I would be at the end of this year. Yeah. I don't know. I just leave a comment or leave it in the chat. Like, what were your expectations for this year and how did it end? Like, I'm super curious if I'm the only person who has like this idea of like this year is just flipped upside down or something. Like, the start of this year and the end of this year is like two completely different moods, things. But yeah, it's easy to get caught up in that. And it's easy to think about all of the stuff that didn't go the way you wanted it to. I kind of had a tendency a while back to kind of do that. Like I had so many plans and so many things. And, you know, I do have a question. Like the first question is, what didn't work? I don't want to put too much effort on like the negative, but it is data that you can use to kind of analyze what else what other things you could do in the next year. Like, it's good to know what didn't work. But what I don't want you to do is have all these emotions with it. I don't want you to say things like, well, I was very lazy this year, or I just wasn't very creative this year. Like, try and keep it kind of neutral and objective, and, see what comes up. Like, what is some of the stuff that you really wanted to do creatively and what didn't work? And then specifically try and find out why it didn't work. And one of the things, and this counts for the stuff that didn't work and the stuff that worked, try and see how you work as a person. For example, what doesn't work for me is working from home. It's just not how I work. I work very well in cafes, and I've tried everything this year to make it easier to work here in my home, but it is an enormous struggle. And so that is one of the things for me that didn't work. What I don't want you to do is like feel bad about that. It's just a piece of information that you can use. A lot of people want to be morning people. They want to be a morning person. Not everybody is a morning person. And I just want to encourage you, like, if stuff didn't work, try and see why. Is it because you were, in the wrong place? Maybe you were in the wrong mindset. Maybe you are forcing yourself to work in a certain kind of way. Like, why didn't it work? And then related to that, which is very important, is there anything that you would want to leave behind in this year? And I specifically want to kind of help you to go into the direction of thinking of certain kinds of mindsets, especially, that you want to leave behind. For example, if you've tried super hard this year to be, like, an example for me is, like, I always want to learn digital painting. That's a thing that I really wish I was a painter more than I am. Like, well, no, I like drawing, but I really always wish that I could paint. But maybe that's just a nice thing of, like, I really should know how to paint because I'm an artist, but actually I really love drawing and I'm going to make comics, and it's not as productive right now for me to do all kinds of tutorials on digital painting, if you know what I mean. Because, I buy all the things, all the tutorials, and then, there are certain things that, I put on my list. I talked in a lot of video about having, like, an idea list of stuff that your brain's kind of go, ooh, that would be nice, and that would be fun to do, and that would be nice to have, and just put them all on a list and kind of picking one thing at a time to work on and keep all the other ideas on the list. So they're there and you can always go back to them. They're not going anywhere, but, you're focusing on something else now. So are there any things you were trying to, maybe force yourself to do, or there were certain kinds of mindsets of, like, the kind of artist you needed to be, or, kind of mindsets around your skill level and comparing yourself to other artists and stuff. Social media, how do you relate to social media? How is it influencing your artwork? Those are all kinds of questions that you can come up with for yourself. Like, what is important in your life? Are you working on any skills? Are you working on any projects? Are you working on stories? Are you pursuing any goals in your art? And what specifically is not helping? And what can you just leave in 2020? Or just put in your idea list if it's like a project. Like, the damaging mindsets we will leave behind. And actively try and work next year on, just starting to talk differently about yourself. If you want to leave a mindset behind of, like, well, I'm just not a good artist, like, very generic thing, but, I'm not a good artist. You can even start by saying, I'm not a good artist yet, but I will be, just changing up the words that you use for yourself can be, like, a focus that you can take with you into 2021, which is very hard to say for some reason. So that's the thing. Also, I saw there was a comment in the chat. It is from Jeff. Hi, Jeff. That's so awesome that you're watching. I was able to do what I set out to do, but it took way more time, so I didn't get to move on to the new things yet. Yes, I'm definitely getting to something related to that. But that's another thing that I wanted to talk about, because 2020 was a crazy year, and I know everybody keeps saying it. Everybody just keeps saying it, and yet we still blame ourselves for, not doing all the things. Like, I have a lot of stuff that I wanted to get done this year that I did not do. And I'm just going to say it. It's my webcomic. It bugs me so much that I'm not currently working on it. But also, just every single time I feel bummed out about that, I look at the facts and I look at my calendar and I'm like, yeah, there's no way that I can get it in there right now because I have other creative priorities. And it really is, a lot of the times I would rather be drawing. I would rather be working on my webcomic. But I also know that, I have long-term goals, like creative goals for like pencils and stories and providing you with all these information and, doing courses and all of that. And that means that I can only do so much. And doing a weekly video is tough. It is, a lot of work, even though I do mostly talking head videos. There's a single video, every single week there's a video coming out. And now I'm doing live streams. Before I did like editing, I did like the captions and everything. So also look at the stuff you were able to do, which is the next question that's coming up. But staying a little bit in that, what do you want to leave behind kind of like thing. Jeff, I know you did a Kickstarter this year. That's a big thing. And I know you fulfilled that Kickstarter. You send out all your rewards. That's a huge accomplishment. Don't like, I know that there's probably other stuff you wanted to get to, but also this year was crazy. Just give yourself a little slack. You did what you could. And if I wanted to say something, if I wanted to give you one tip of something you can leave behind this year, and I know it's much easier said than done, but I would just like for you all to get rid of all of that have to and should have and that guilt. Like guilt and pressure is it's so bad for creativity in general, but it's not helping you. Whoever did something. Because, usually when you're feeling guilty, you have a tendency to avoid the thing. Like, it's not very motivating to feel super guilty about something. And sure, people do things because they're guilty too, but it's not a very pleasant way to work. So if you can help it, really, really look at what you did do this year. And again, like everything derailed. It was for me as well. And if you start talking to other artists around you, and that's also a very good thing to do. I'm getting an idea for a tweet that I can send out right now. Like, guys, just why don't we start talking about this? Like, did you do everything? Did you do everything in 2020 that you wanted to do, like creatively? And I think that a lot of artists will say, no, I did not. And that's always been the case. But 2020 was kind of crazy. Just for me, sometimes it was hard to keep my mental health, not sliding downhill. That can be a task for some people in and of itself of like half a day. I know that I'm way more tired. I'm very, very tired. And it is because of like that subconscious kind of like stress. When you go out, when you do groceries and everything, you have to pay so much attention and all of that stuff. And that influences your creativity. Like if you are not as relaxed as normal, if you're stressed or, you're worried about your family or whatever, that all influences your creativity. So we can all say like, well, Corona didn't affect me personally, so it's all fine, and I should be able to do everything that I normally would be able to do. Well, no, it still subconsciously influences you. So kind of relax. And when we think about what didn't work, maybe just think about it in terms of like, okay, this gives me information about what I need, what kind of places, what kind of people around me, what kind of stuff do I need. For me, it is I need to work in cafes. I cannot do it right now. So that's the thing I have to accept. So I would have been more productive if I was in a cafe. I know that sounds like an excuse, but I just learned to accept that that is a really good way for me to work. And now I'm definitely getting to like the second part. Nicholas says, guilt is the worst influence for creativity. Yes, you're right. Yes, definitely. Influence for creativity is a good word. Like, it will influence it negatively. Yes, definitely. That's a good point. Thank you. Yeah. So obviously, when we're talking about what isn't working, the next question is, what is working? And for that as well, think about a time when it was easier, and especially like in this pandemic thing, if stuff really changed for you, if you're at home more, if you're suddenly working, from home, or, a lot of you people have like families that are, fighting for your attention and stuff. Normally you would be in an office and you would have like an hour lunch break when you did some sketching, and, that all changed. But maybe you found some new habits and stuff in 2020 that really worked for you. Maybe you made some surprising discoveries, and I'm not just talking about how do I work the best, in terms of like times of day, how do I, divide my energy over that day. Some people just sit down and work for 4 hours straight. Other people work in small bursts. They do one little step and then they go do the laundry and then they do another step again. That is a thing. But also think about, what did you learn, like, as an artist? I did very little drawing this year, unfortunately. But I did do a drawing that I'm very proud of. And it was like, I hadn't drawn for weeks. And then that drawing came out, and it was really kind of strange for me to see that. And it was like, well, I still paid attention. Obviously, I was still looking at other artists' work. I was still kind of analyzing things in my mind. I was still working on composition and stuff. And when I did have the time and I did sit down and I did make that drawing, it really came out well. So there's obviously stuff that I learned, even though I didn't do that much practical drawing. You can also have learned things about creativity. You can have learned things about yourself as an artist. You could have maybe learned something about techniques that you did, materials you're working with. So what are the skills that you learned? Maybe you took a course, like, list it all down, and actively take it with you into the new year to apply to your art. I'm just looking at my notes, they're a little jumbled. Yes. And then, yes, obviously, the question 2 is, what do you want to take with you into 2021? Because we're leaving stuff behind, but we also want to take stuff with us. And that is, how we work as an artist, the things we've learned, and maybe those new mindsets that you want to work on as an artist. I love that. Shauna says, "Be gone, guilt." Yeah, definitely. Just let's create a cafe in your home. I actually did. I actually tried that. I tried that, and I go sit down, and my brain is like, "You think you can fool me? You can't." I'm like, why? You know what the thing is about working in a cafe for me that really works well? I cannot get up and go do something in a cafe. That is literally the main issue. I can do everything in my house. Whenever I run into a creative issue, because, I didn't do my webcomic, but I did a lot of creative stuff in terms of, like, I created an entire course. And, I did a lot of writing for social media and stuff, and I came up with a ton of videos. So I did do a lot of creative work. And, you run into roadblocks. That's the creative process. And I just sit down and, I can just get up so easily from my chair in my house, and I just can make some more tea and, just hang the laundry while I think about this thing. And I'm not doing that at all. And then 2 hours later, I'm suddenly watching Netflix. It's like a thing. Nicholas is like Trial library, yeah, if they're open, but they're not. They have been very closed for the majority of the year, unfortunately. And now, again, the cafes are closed. We're in partial lockdown. And before that, I did try to go into the cafes more, but it's just really stressful. Like we had these corona spikes and everything, and I'm like, is it really smart to go sit in a cafe right now? It was complicated. Yeah. Yeah, libraries are closed. Yes. Yeah. It's sometimes really hard to find stuff outside the door where I could work, maybe in a park, but not right now because it's cold. Yeah. Shauna says, after graduating, I thought I had tons of time to write and draw. Instead, I have to work on my mental health. I feel unproductive, but in reality, I really needed this time to heal. And it's super, super important and a enormous positive investment in yourself. This will only help your creativity in the long run. I'm not trying to make you feel better or anything. This is actually true. This is so true. Like, if your mental health is shot, it's like you cannot be creative. At least I can't. Maybe there's people who can. I've seen some examples of people who do really amazing work when they don't feel well, but I can't. Like, my creativity just goes down the drain immediately. So yeah, I need to be, at my best in order to be my most creative. So definitely that's an enormous investment in yourself as an artist as well. And just for your life in general, it's like super positive. And same, like I had to take so much more extra time to make sure that I was in the right mindset and that I was still able to function and stuff. Like, I struggle with anxiety like a lot. So that's the thing. So yeah. I'm from the Netherlands, Nicholas. Yeah, that's where I'm from. The Netherlands, yes. And they close things down sometimes. Yeah. So what do you want to take with you in 2021? What kind of mindsets would you like to have? Like, maybe, and from there you can start thinking about goals. Like, this is not a goal setting video. I actually want to do a goal setting video for the last video of the year, which is ironically on, I think it's New Year's Eve, like the 31st, or is it 30 years? 30 years. One of the Thursdays falls on, I think it's New Year's. Like New Year's Eve kind of day. What do you call that in English? Like the last day of the year. That's easier. The last day of the year is when one of the Thursdays fall on. So I decided to release a video. So that will be a video about, working on your creative projects in the new year. That's fun. And then, just as a last kind of call, because I'm working on that video very soon, but the Thursday before, it's Christmas. And I'm going to release a video on that day as well. And I want to critique your comic pages. So if you have a comic page, like, don't send me a bunch, but just send me one comic page that you want to have critiqued on video on YouTube. You can DM me on social media and send it to me. You can also, ask me for my email address, and I can give it to you over DM. And, you can send me a page and I can critique it live, and I'll be very nice. I'm not going to roast you or anything. And keep it all ages, please. No, not safe for work things and gore and stuff like that. Yeah. That was it for this video, I think. I just want to encourage you to take kind of like these questions in the back of your head, take them with you in December, try and reflect a little bit on the year. Like, I heard a really good tip lately. I'm following a creative program right now, and they had a really great tip of browse through your photos, like see kind of what you did through the months, and then maybe you have any memories that pop up and things that were like, well, okay, that worked really well for me when I had that hour somewhere over there, and I did something that, and I just, forgot everything around me, and it just flowed right out of me. I had some drawing done or whatever, those kinds of things. So that might be a good idea. Just ponder a little bit, and yeah, that's it. And yeah, just if you need to do the entire like big questionnaire, so it will be 20 million. I'm probably early, but there will be 20 million videos on YouTube in the coming weeks, all about, you know, reflecting on 2020 and setting goals for 2021. So if you're into that, you can eat your heart out probably in the coming weeks, and just, you know, take a really big questionnaire and go sit down and, you know, write. I like to normally I would like to sit down and do all of this with pen and paper and just really go all out. Not this year. Pressure free. That's what I want to be. So I'm just gonna, you know, like reflect a little bit, you know, more in my head and just write some really key things down that I want to take with me into 2021. So that's all. I've teased a little bit about my upcoming course. That is the main thing I've worked on this year and why I didn't have too much time. Also, I got a new job and everything. It's like crazy stressful, but that is one of the biggest reasons I have not been able to work on my webcomic, is because I want to make a course about how to start a comic, because my webcomic took a while to get started. I had a huge art block like for years, and then step by step, like I had to learn the entire process of how do you make a big comic, because that was like my dream in my art block, was like, I want to have a big comic, I want to have a webcomic, have my own thing. But how do you do that? How do you do that when you've never done such a big project before? And that is what this course is about. It will take you through the entire preparation process of your comic. So we'll start from a blank page, then we'll go all the way to like ideas. How do you come up with ideas? How do you freely get all of your ideas out? How do you get new ideas? How do you connect them together? And then we're going to talk about story. We're going to talk about how to structure your story. What do you need in order to, you know, have enough information for you to start making your pages? How do you write a log line? All of that stuff. And then it's design time. So we're going to design your main characters. We're going to think about, you know, also like villains and side characters and locations. What is your story's world? All of that good stuff. And then the last module is a crash course on how to actually make a comic page. So when you're done, you will have all the info you need to be able to make comics. Or they start your first comic project, or maybe it's maybe you already did some short comics, but you want to do a really long comic. That is what this course is perfect for. I will launch it in January. Didn't want to launch it like in the stressful December, so I pushed it to January, and I'm going to launch the Kickstarter on January 25th. So if you want to be in the loop for that course, if you want to be notified the moment it launches, because it will have like all kinds of nice early bird like bonuses and early bird prize and everything, go to howtostartacomic.com and you can sign up for the interest list there, and I will send you an email the moment the course goes live. You can also sign up for my email list. In general, the place to go for that is pencilsandstories.com/extra. And I'll put the links in the description down below later. I wasn't able to do it for some reason before I went live. But you can go to pencilsandstories.com/extra and you can sign up for my email list and get your weekly comic inspiration from there. You will also get a checklist. It's like a tiny version of my course, basically, like in a checklist form of like, what are the steps you need to take in order for you to start your comic. So if you want to do a comic in 2021, the checklist might be a good thing to start to kind of see the stuff that you might need to gather before you start. So that's really nice. You will have that sent to your inbox immediately after you sign up, and you will get the weekly comic inspiration, a little nudge to help you keep working on it, keep taking action on it. So yeah, I want to thank you so much for watching. It's been half an hour already again. And thank you all so much too for like, chatting in the chat and everything. If you have something that you learned maybe this year, something that was like an art epiphany that you had, or something that was really, interesting for you to work with, or something that you want to take with you in your artistic journey in 2021, then I would love to hear about it in the comments. Also leave the video a like if you liked it. That will really help the algorithm and stuff, and subscribe if you haven't already. For now, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I want to wish you a great day and go and make some comics. Bye, guys. Yes, I want to end the stream. Now is the time where we awkwardly wait until the stream ends. Bye, guys.